so excited to have our next guest on the show, Corey Lewandowski. Corey was the campaign manager of Donald Trump's 2016 campaign for president of the United States. He is a commentator and contributor on Fox News, CNN. I see him on the news all the time. He recently came out with a book that has been flying off the shelves that he co-authored with Dave Bossie. He's a good friend, a great American leader, and it's just such a joy to have you on the show. Good morning, Corey. How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you this morning?
Great. I see that you were in Pennsylvania with the president.
Well, I went to Tampa with the president on Tuesday. I didn't go last night, but we've got another big rally tomorrow night in Delaware County, which is Columbus, Ohio, for a special election. So I am selective when I travel, but it's hard to keep up with the president. He just has a motor that never shuts off.
And what it must be like for you to have been the campaign manager of the most historic, epic campaign in American political history, really the world. I mean, that must be just the most incredible experience to have not only been a part of it, but to have been the campaign manager for the Donald Trump 2016 campaign.
You know, I've equated it to being a horse jockey on the greatest horse ever to run, right?
That's right.
Your job is not to try and control the horse. Your job is to let that horse run. You guide it into the corners a little bit. You try and keep it a little bit focused. But when you have a person like Donald Trump, who is such an amazing talent, who has such ability to read the political environment, he didn't need Corey Lewandowski to tell him what to say or how to do it. He did this on his own. I was there as a guidepost to help give some advice and counsel when necessary, but I've said it so many times. This campaign, Donald Trump won 99.9% by himself, and the rest of us, everybody, Jared, myself, Brad, Dave Bossie, Kellyanne Conway, we were 0.01% of the success of his campaign because he is such a natural talent, and the people have recognized that they want a leader who tells them the truth, who speaks like they do, and that's what propelled him to the victory. That and his sheer work ethic.
That's right.
He beat 16 Republicans in the primary, and he went on to take and decimate the Clinton cabal when everybody said he couldn't do it. That's a tribute to Donald Trump.
Well, your book, I love your book, Let Trump Be Trump. And, you know, I every copy I have that I've given away as gifts, I can't tell you the outpouring of you know, people love it. And rumor has it that you may have another book coming out.
Well, look, we were very fortunate when Dave and I wrote the book, Let Trump Be Trump. It was the story of the campaign. Mm-hmm. But now that the campaign has ended and we're 18 or 19 months into this election, into this administration, we want to talk about Trump's enemies, the enemies from within the government who are trying to stop and stymie his agenda. Some of those enemies have been inside the White House. Some of them have been inside government agencies. Some of them we know very well, the Jim Comey, James Clappers of the world, right? The Brennans of the world. Those people who had their own agenda, the Peter Schrock, Lisa Page. I could go right through that list, but there are so many more. These unelected bureaucrats who are told what the president's agenda is, and they just stop it. So our next book, Trump's Enemies Within, is going to outline who those people are, name names, tell you how they have gotten into those positions, and what we can do to change it. So we've been working on it. We hope it's going to come out right around Thanksgiving, and if we are fortunate enough and it's as successful as the last one, that's a lot coming from a guy from Lowell, Massachusetts.
Well, I'll tell you, I cannot wait to get my hands on that book. I can't wait. I hope the names are named in big, bold print so that the American people can know who they are. Because here we are, Corey, we have 4.1 GDP growth. Consumer confidence is at an all-time high in 18 years. You know, the Black and Hispanic unemployment at all-time lows. There's hope and there's hope and opportunity throughout our great nation. And yet the hate for our president, the greatest president in American history, that has accomplished more, promises made, promises delivered, the hate is off the charts. And you just did an article in Real Clear Politics yesterday called Trump Haters Are Gaslighting America on the Economy, and I was hoping you could speak to that a little bit.
Well, you're exactly right, and this is what is so sad for me is, look, I wasn't a Barack Obama fan. I didn't vote for Barack Obama, but when he became the president of our country, I wanted him to be successful because I want my country to be successful. Right. The difference now is people hate this president more than they love their country, and that is a sad state of affairs, right? When you go out and you see the visceral hatred of what this president stands for, which is putting America first, the notion of buy America, hire American is something that has been inbred in our society forever, but we've gotten away from it because we've got to be this globalist all the time. And this president said it's time to refocus on our country. And what I wrote about in that op-ed, which is the gaslighting from the left and the never-Trumpers and the Democrats who want to blame the president for a great economy. All of a sudden, he didn't do anything. He didn't get tax cuts passed. Right. And what they continue to do is put out a negative spin, which is so false all day long. They never give him the credit because they still can't bring themselves to believe that he is doing all the things that he laid out in the campaign and promised to fulfill. And I see the never-Trumpers all the time writing negative articles about this president. They don't want to give him the credit. Today, unemployment in the United States of America is 3.9%. Growth rate, 4.1%. Under the Obama administration, they said you could never get to 4%. The quote-unquote economists and geniuses who oversee the economy said it's not even reasonable. They laughed at us.
Right.
They wrote stories that it was so false it could never happen to get to 4%. And now they're saying, well, it's not Trump. It had nothing to do with Trump. It's all these other things that are taking credit for it. And it's so disturbing to me. It's so disappointing that I had to call it the hypocrisy yesterday in the op-ed.
I'm so glad you did, because as you point out, we have the new face of the Democratic Party, right? Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. And, a socialist. And she claims, she makes outrageous statements, as you know. I don't even think she knows where Israel is. But in addition to that, she says that unemployment is low because, quote, everyone has 2 jobs. It's so crazy.
There's no fact checking. They let her go out and say those things, right? With no recourse. There has been no pushback by her inability to talk about our most important ally in the Middle East, Israel, and say, hey, why don't you clarify this? How can you say that you're qualified? By the way, there was a time not that long ago, and the story's now coming out about her, that she thought feminism was a relic and that she was a capitalist. That obviously changed now that she wants to be a socialist and a progressive and a far left-wing member of Congress who believes that ICE should be disbanded. The very men and women who protect us every day from the animals in MS-13 who are raping and killing people in the United States. These men and women of ICE go into those dens, those absolute worst places in our country where MS-13 is operating, and they take those MS-13 gang members out, and they make sure they're held accountable. And this is a woman who wants to see that unit of our police force in the United States disbanded, and if that happens, we will be in a less safe place than we are today. That's the problem. The progressives have no answers, and it's very convenient for them to throw out accusations and accuse the president of all kinds of hyperbole. They don't want to give him the credit that he deserves in the economy for moving the embassy in Israel, which 12 presidents had pledged to do, and he's the first one to actually do it. They don't want to give him the credit for the growth in unemployment for blacks and Hispanics and Asian and women in the workforce, the lowest in recorded history. And today, the story is that the president's approval rating amongst the African-American community is up 19% in the last month because of the economic opportunities that they have seen. That should be praised. That should be on TV every day.
That's right.
Because if that was Barack Obama, they would be touting it from the hilltops.
Oh, you bet they would. You bet they would. And, here we have, the face of the Democrat Party that is, they're so unhinged. You've got Maxine Waters. You've got, Ocasio-Cortez, so unhinged, so off the deep end. And I was hoping you could speak to, too, what's at stake? What is at stake if, those that are wishing that we lose the House, right? What is at stake to the American people with everything that our president has accomplished? What is at stake if that were to happen?
Well, first and foremost, the Democratic Party has absolutely no agenda for the American people. They will be obstructionists, they will be obstacles, they will be obstinate, and what that means for the American people is very clearly, we give the gavel back to Speaker Nancy Pelosi. We allow the left-wing members of a bi-coastal party, the New York elites, the LA and San Francisco elites, to once again set the direction of our spending priorities, because spending bills are generated in the House of Representatives. But what it also means is they have zero desire to continue to cut taxes for working-class Americans and to cut the regulations of a onerous government on small businesses. And what they have said publicly is that not only do they want to see the repeal of the tax cuts, which this president pushed through, the largest tax cut in history, but they want to see more taxes paid by the American people because they have a fundamentally different mindset. They believe the government is the solution and not the problem. They believe that you should pay more money and they should redistribute your wealth so that if you've created jobs or you've worked hard in your life and you've been able to save and do well, that you're not entitled to that. You didn't build it, if you remember what Barack Obama said. So this election, in less than 100 days, is an inflection point. It comes down to questioning, who do you want to lead our country? Do you want Nancy Pelosi to lead the country? She tried that and it failed. Or do you want to continue under the leadership of President Donald Trump with historic low unemployment, great growth, right? 4.1% GDP, unemployment numbers so low for everybody that the economy is booming. The stock market is through the roof. When they all told us if Donald Trump won, the stock market would lose half its value, it's up 60%, right? 3.7 million new jobs. This election in November is very clear. You can either put Nancy Pelosi back in the speaker's chair and pay more money in taxes, or you can continue down the path of prosperity that has benefited every man, woman, and child in this country in the last 19 months.
That's absolutely right. And those are powerful words. Everything is at stake. Our very national security. I mean, for the first time, we as a country, our energy independence, energy dominance that we're witnessing. I mean, everything, our very livelihood, the prosperity of our country is all at stake. And I just want to thank you so much, Corey, for coming on the show. Your best-selling New York Times bestseller, Let Trump Be Trump. Folks, if they can get it, because I know it's been flying off the shelves, they can. Where's the best place they can get your book?
Look, you can go to every major bookstore still. You go online and buy it. Grab the hard copy. It's a very easy read.
Yes.
Look, I'm a jamoke who, went to public colleges, so I never had the privilege of going to the Ivy Leagues, and that's not me. So I wrote it simple. It's an easy read. It's a fun read. It takes you inside the campaign and what it was like to travel with then-candidate Trump on the airplane while the decisions were being made. It's a really special thing, and I think everybody who reads it understands, unlike some other books that are out there, no one has to say that my stories aren't true, because they all are true. I don't have fallacies in there about the role that I played. Right. I talk about the role that I played. And what we're now seeing is many new books are coming out, and they're rewriting history, whether it's Fire and Fury or the Spicer book, where supposedly all these guys had these giant roles in the campaign and didn't do anything. Right. My book is the truth, and no one ever questioned it.
No, nobody's ever questioned it. And I think that it gives the American people a glimpse into what it was like working with the greatest American president in the history of time. And you had that experience. It's allowing the American people to get a tiny taste of what that was like. And I can't wait for your next one. I can't wait to see the names named of those that are within the administration, doing everything they can, the enemies that are doing everything they can to try and disrupt President Trump's vision for America and the prosperity that we are witnessing and making America first. I can't wait to get my hands on that. You said Thanksgiving. And if you haven't read Corey's article that just came out, yesterday, I encourage you to do so. It's Trump haters are gaslighting the America on the economy. It's by Corey Lewandowski. It came out yesterday in Real Clear Politics. Corey, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, and you have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Friends, that was Corey Lewandowski, campaign manager for Donald Trump in 2016. He does have a New York Times best-selling book out. He's a great guy, a hard worker, and you can hear the passion in his voice when he speaks about our president, this administration, and our economy and all the prosperity that we're seeing time and time again from our president, who has made promises and he's keeping them.